And we're live. Welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have the one and only. This guy might be one of the biggest people I've ever seen in the gym. Larger than life personality, former pro wrestler, someone that's taught both Mendez and myself a whole lot about the training world. Giovanni Roselli, how you doing, man?
What's up, brother?
I'm great. It's great to see you guys, even though it's like this, but it's still great to see both your faces and be on this podcast. And I'm so happy that you guys are doing such amazing things in the fitness industry. And I'm happy to say that I knew you guys both when.
Yeah, a long time ago. You've known us, man.
Time flies.
Yeah. So how's everything been going for you? I know you're not too far up north from where we're at. How have things been, during this whole lockdown situation and kind of since they've been reopening some of the gyms? I don't know if you're still at any of the gyms up in Boca, but how's everything been going for you?
All things considered, I'm doing okay. As we were talking about offline, I have a 3-year-old daughter and a wife that I'm trying to support and keep healthy too. So I'm trying to be very smart and courteous of socially distancing, no crowds. I have some clients that I'm training, but once again, training them at least six feet apart, and just trying to be as safe as possible, but still make a living off of doing what we do.
No, definitely. And, I agree 100%. And that's, I think, the part that, a lot of people at the beginning found challenging, especially in our field, was, us, coaches, especially the ones that are very hands-on and have one-on-one sessions. Well, how do you find that fine line of being able to deliver still that quality, make your money as a coach, deliver what you're supposed to deliver your client, but at the same time, keep yourself, your family, safe. So now that we kind of jumped into that a little bit, I want to kind of understand, from when that happened, that moment it started for you. What was that mindset? What was that transition like? And what did you initially dive into to be able to start, or actually to be able to move into a new realm where you had to take on your clients or your business in a different approach? How did that go about?
Yeah, quite honestly, at first, like most of us, it was, all right, it's going to be a rough couple months. And then come the summer or come the fall, things will be back to normal. And then, once season hits, because in South Florida, that's big for us, right? Once November hits, we should be rocking and rolling. We should be busy. All our snowbirds come back down. But who knows how season's going to be this season, the way things are going. So initially I was like, you know what, for a couple months, I'll do what I can. And then, once September, October, November comes, I'll be okay. And then once I realized that, like, wait a second, I do have to do some virtual stuff. I do have to do online stuff. I do have to step out of my comfort zone. Then you adapt. I feel like, and you guys know me a little bit, like I love my cliches and I love to use a lot of cliches. And, I feel like sometimes life puts you in positions where it forces you to change. And I feel like that's definitely the case now in this world with this pandemic going on. And, you can look at it two different ways, and you can just, be the person on this side that's like, this sucks and I can't do this and I'm not making any money. Or you can be the other person that says, you know what, how can I take advantage of this? What can I learn from this? What opportunities are out there that weren't out there before? And I've always tried to take, just like the two of you, and I'm sure most of the listeners out there have taken that approach, which was, all right, what opportunities are out there that I haven't been able to do prior to this? And how are some potential weaknesses that I have? How can I make them now strengths? And with this extra time, can I study something that I wasn't really confident in, or really something that I didn't know about? So that's how I've tried to attack this entire situation.
Yeah, it's it's very much a sink or swim type of environment right now, right? Everyone's just trying to survive and do the best they can. But I think in that survival mode, right? Like you mentioned, there is this huge opportunity to be able to thrive if you can get out of that comfort zone, right? you know, we've talked about it maybe 1,000 times already on the podcast. Yeah. We didn't even start this thing until everything got locked down. And, you know, him and I for maybe a year now, I've been talking about starting one, but everything comes up, or, you know, he picks up a new client, I pick up a new client, or we have, you know, new content we need to shoot for some company. So with the lockdown happening, him and I were like, well, now that we're stuck at home, kind of like you said with online training, you know, it's like, this is a perfect opportunity for us because we do have all this extra free time to be able to develop and build out the infrastructure for the podcast so that we can do what we're doing today. So I completely agree. I think, you know, there are these opportunities. You just have to be aware of them and be comfortable being uncomfortable as you learn and grow throughout the situation.
All day. And I, you know, Josh bringing that up, you know, we've going into the podcast, I've had conversations with other coaches, like, you know, Sarah Jamison and John Russin and Kavan Daly, and, you know, hearing their feedback, you know, it's amazing to hear the different stories and the different approaches that they approach their business during the times like this. So that's something I wanted to ask you is, what is your approach like, you know, now experiencing it and having done already a good amount of, you know, classes differently and sessions? What have you learned as a coach, and what takeaways have you taken from this new experience? And what would you truly say that you're like, man, this really helped me become a better coach in this area?
Yeah, I think, you know, and this is from someone who presents a lot in person. This is from someone who loves to educate, right? So now I can't be in front of people. We can't touch them. We can't ask them to do things in the way we used to ask them to do things. So I think first and foremost, it's really, as weird as this sounds, it's really made me a better presenter, right? Because I'm presenting online, and I'm still doing fitness certifications and classes and fitness education online, but it's a lot different. And there was a steep learning curve, and there's always going to be an evolution, right? We're always better now than when we were 6 months from now, right? We're all better trainers now than we were 6 months from now. We're all better trainers now than we were a year from now, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So, you know, just having, you know, 15 square boxes heads in front of a computer screen was such a new, you know, experience for me versus standing in front of a room full of, you know, 20, you know, the 30 participants. So I feel like it's really made me dive into how I articulate myself. And from a personal training standpoint, like cueing has to be on the money. Like you really have to make sure that what you're saying, you know, is resonating with your clients, whether it's a class, whether you have a small class or whether you have, you know, a one-on-one session as well. So, you know, the answer that I'll give, you know, the big answer is that, you know, it's made me a better, you know, presenter, and it's challenged me to once again figure out how to get points across a lot differently than getting points across, you know, when I'm out live in front of, you know, once again, in front of could be potentially, you know, a lot of people.
Yeah, I've always felt uncomfortable, you know, like poking and putting my hands all over a bunch of sweaty people. So I feel like I was super prepared to be able to do the, you know, social distance cueing. Because you know, my clients are already used to me barking orders at them and them, you know, having to handle it on the fly. So I felt pretty prepared for that. But
it's like when Josh barks at me all the time, I'm like, geez, Josh, calm down. Like, give me a second.
Yeah. But, you know, so I think that it has been a huge transition for people. And like you said, Zoom has become such a pivotal tool for us in the fitness industry to be able to use. There's a couple others out there, but Zoom is a big one. I mean, we're on Zoom now, for example. And, you know, same thing that you were saying for me, like it was such a huge transition having to even keep people's attention, you know, because if you're in front of them, you can go over there and kind of get right in their face and say like, you know, wake up, let's go. And now that you're through a computer screen, it's like, I can't do that. So, I gotta find new ways to be able to, keep people engaged throughout the, whether it's 40 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever it is. So I found that to be very challenging, at least personally.
Yeah, no, it's on the money, with everything that Josh said and you said, and hearing from other coaches, it's the truth, and I think it's amazing, especially in the queuing aspect, where you see a lot of differences and how you had to be just more sharper as a presenter, and just I think too, like your skills of listening, really improved, because that we were talking about, it's just one of those things where you're actually spending more time sitting down and listening to the client, about other areas that they need to improve on. And you actually catch yourself doing more talking, educating wise. And it doesn't even have to be so much the training aspect, but you're educating them in other ways as well, which is highly valuable. So, I think we can all agree that we're all going to come out of this as well as, having another amazing tool in the toolbox, like Gio said, presenting and being to be more sharp on point with what we're trying to do. Gio, I got to ask you, because you being somebody who's been around, big educational systems and involved with that part of the education, being at Equinox, with ViPR and Michelle Dalcour and other groups that you've led with, what are some of the things that you see right now, having been part of these groups and still are, what are you seeing changing as far as the approach with all this that's happened moving forward? And let's say even after COVID, have you seen a change of the approach of the way that they're going to deliver education, and what is going to be the same, what is going to be different?
Yeah, great question. I'm gonna answer. Coming from once again, fitness education background, looking at the classes that we're teaching now and the webinars that we're doing, it's almost like, wait a second. So I just did this webinar in front of 80, 100, whatever, 200, 400 people. I didn't have to fly anywhere. I didn't have to get a hotel. Is this going to actually last after? Like, is this going to just open up a whole new way for companies to say, maybe, okay, maybe we'll do some live stuff, but I know a lot of presenters have said to me, they said, I just got X amount of people in my webinar. I don't get X amount of people when I fly and do something, because now you just, you can reach from everywhere, and all someone has to do is click on a link. So I'm really interested to see, if things, even when they get back to normal, whatever that is, or however that looks like, are a lot of companies going to say, this has been actually working okay. Maybe we'll do one live summit a year where we can get together as a community, but otherwise let's save some time, some money, some airfare, some hotels. A flight's going to be late, the hotel can't book, this or that. Maybe this is going to change a lot more of the fitness industry than we're even realizing right now. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think kind of going back off of what you said about, sometimes situations just kind of shove you in the direction that you need to head into. And I was talking to some of the people that run on its education system before all this stuff went down, and they were already kind of heading into that, hybrid online, at least for like their entry level courses, and they plan on having more advanced in-person courses. I think that this whole lockdown and everything that's happening with COVID just really accelerated all of that and really allowed people to understand that, it is possible to be able to hold 4, 5, 1,000 people, in these Zoom groups, in these online platforms, and be able to coherently and consistently deliver the content. Because I think that that's really where it comes down to, is like, are people going to actually be able to absorb the information that you're giving them? When you're in person, it can be a lot easier because you can see it on their faces. If they're just looking at you with, this dumbfounded look on their face and, kind of glazing through you, it's pretty obvious to tell that they didn't really get any of it. But over the screen, I can kind of mask that and nod my head and make it seem like, yeah, I'm getting all this stuff. But there's a lot of great instructors out there like you that really, take it upon themselves to master the craft and really adjust with the times and learn on the fly. And, I think that that's what's going to make this so great moving forward, is that we have people like you to kind of, blaze the trail for the rest of us that, might want to get into presenting later on in our careers as well.
And I think the second part of my answer too is that this evolution, Michelle Dalcourt and Institute of Motion for this, is the evolution of health coaching now, right? So now it's he uses this. Someone gave him this feedback, and I'm gonna steal it from him. He said, most fitness companies and trainers are talking about sets, reps, and dumbbells. Institute of Motion, sustainability, and longevity, right? So that's just like a whole other deeper level of health and fitness and wellness. And I feel like there's going to be a huge space for that now, because as we're seeing, right? So if you're predisposed to this, then you're more likely to get COVID. If you're so unhealthy, then you're more likely for this to happen to you, right? So how do you combat that? Well, be preventative about it, right? And do stuff to help your longevity, help your resiliency, not just physically, emotionally, mentally. And that's where being a health coach will really come into play. And, that's where my sight are set on, and that's where Institute of Motion set on. And that's, and we credit, Michelle Dalcourt for that.
My bad. I really appreciate, you saying that. That's definitely a lot of value right there. And I think also too, something that I've noticed, I think the language is going to be huge in the way people think, because like you say, hear a lot of people hear sets, reps, all that stuff all the time. They already in their heads think of gym, and when you start talking about the ViPR language, that's something might be brand new to most people, or, when they see it being used, they see at home, outside, not typically, it doesn't have to be in the gym. So the language alone, I feel, just gives this new notion to people, make them feel like, well, this is what I need to apply, especially now moving forward where everything's going. This is that longevity. This is what I want, and then it just takes them away from thinking of the typical sets, reps, gym, and gyms are closed or gyms are this because of COVID. So I feel like that language already just gives a huge boost automatically to helping, bring that message out and show people more about the ViPR, education and the tool and what it does and moving forward, and gives a company a huge boost. Another thing I wanted to mention, something I was thinking about the other day, and just wanted to know, since I know you're in the education field, and I'm sure you get a lot of, info on new courses, workshops, certs. With everything we got going now, I probably wouldn't be surprised, but maybe I've heard of it. Have you heard of any, companies in the health and fitness space that are already considering maybe doing workshops on teaching coaches how to use Zoom, cameras, social media, online, things that with where we're going now, and those elements are going to be huge, and maybe even showing them how to connect with people over online, cues over online, the approaches that need to take over interactions like this. Do you know of any workshop that might be moving forward towards that, or possibly working on that?
And in case I go off on a tangent, remind me what the question was. But what I try to do is I subscribe to every single quality company's email in fitness, exercise, health, nutrition, everything. So I'm constantly getting bombarded in a good way with the what's what of what's going, who's doing who's got a course coming up, who's doing this webinar, who's shooting this content, what new products coming out. And with that being said, is I'm getting all the information, or as much information as I could possibly get in a single day. So what I have seen is a lot of the certifying bodies like NASM, like ACE, that are doing exactly what you have said already, is, okay, you're all basically virtual trainers now. Now we have a course to help teach you on how to be the best virtual trainer possible. Now, quite honestly, I haven't taken these courses yet, just because I'm not doing that much virtual training, where I think I'm doing just fine. Like I don't need any extra assistance on that, and I'm doing more of the education. But there are more and more courses that I'm seeing that from these certifying bodies that I've seen personally that are getting into that, because that's a whole other ballgame. I used to joke that, a new trainer would come on, they graduate from college, exercise science degree, and barely any training experience, if at all. And then, I'll see something, they'll tag me or something, and then they'll say, online trainer. And I'm like, online trainer? I was like, you can't even train somebody in person. You don't have any experience training someone live, and now you're already an online trainer. But the world has shifted where now we're all doing some type of online training. But I found that quite ironic and interesting how, get some reps in person before you proclaim yourself, an online trainer. And maybe now, if you don't have the opportunity to do that face to face, maybe it's definitely time to take one of these courses from one of these great companies and say, all right, I'm going to become a virtual trainer, or this is going to be a big part of my toolbox and skill set. What do I need to do?
Yeah. One, I couldn't agree with you more. I think more people need to know how to train people in person before they go online. Two, I was just waiting for a shameless plug from this guy because he started his own coaching program. It's actually pretty good. I've had the opportunity to dive into some of the content myself. So for all of you listening, make sure you hit up this guy if you're ready to take your online coaching platform to the next level. But I was just waiting for the shameless plug. Look at him. He's getting all red in the face. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I kind of want to
I'm not surprised that you have one already.
I mean, this dude never stops, man. Never stops. I have to get him to try to slow down sometimes. So
he's trying to reel me in.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you though, actually, I've been really looking forward to this opportunity because, I do really respect your viewpoints in the industry. One of my biggest fears coming out of this whole, COVID situation is we started to kind of hear this emphasis on, oh, well, now that we understand that, there's all these health risks if you're obese or if you have diabetes or you have heart problems that are lifestyle caused. Do you think that, my biggest fear is that people, once we've kind of separated ourselves from COVID and things kind of get back to normal, if they do it all right, my fear is that people are going to slip back into their old ways of, eating junk food and not exercising and being too stressed out, even more than we already are stressed out with the whole climate in the US today. I don't want to see that happen because that's only going to, perpetuate this cycle the next time something like this comes around, so I wanted to get your take. Do you have the same fear I have? Do you think that there's a chance that we'll kind of slip back into, the status quo, or do you think that we've become more woke to the actual necessities of, a proper diet, de-stressing ourselves, maybe, freeing up some time and so that we can have the opportunity to exercise and we can have the opportunity to increase our quality of life?
Yeah, I understand your fear, and it's very, very warranted. The one thing that I'll try to be optimistic about, so to speak, is I think that this has hit us so hard that it has changed a lot of habits that we may not necessarily will be going back to. And especially since, like we talked about, this ain't over by a long shot. Like, depending on when you're listening to this, it's August 2020. So someone may be listening to this, in November, December, and, I got a feeling that still won't be far from over at that point either. So I feel like, as we know, as we've studied precision nutrition, John Berardi, and habit-based coaching, is that the longer you can keep a habit going, the better chance that you're going to have to keep that habit for forever or for an extended period of time. So I feel like the longer this goes on, the more chance that whatever new habits that we have, and hopefully they're all for the better, that we'll be able to stick. Now, I'll use the simplest example of washing our hands, right? And not that I was a dirty, person before, right? But how much more cognizant are we of washing our hands, maybe washing our hands for another 10 seconds than we used to wash our hands for, right? And then we're just doing this month after month. Like, so to your question and your point, and I'm using a very low level example, is I don't think I'm going to be washing my hands 10 seconds less in a few months from now. I think whatever I'm doing personally is probably going to end up sticking, especially the more this gets drawn out, the longer this gets drawn out. And it is making you more cognizant of your health and your wellness. And maybe that'll, change some people's, mindsets for the better.
I really like the part, about you bringing up about, habits being embedded. And I agree with that. I think also too, in another area that, in the health and fitness field, as you've seen, they've already been doing surveys of people saying 59 to 61% from, different companies, people saying that they're not going to go back to gyms, and I think goes the same thing. People are out of the gym, they're working out at home, working out outdoors, building home gyms. And what happens over time, you create a habit doing that. And they realize, oh, I'm doing my virtual coaching or training. I'm, getting my at-home workouts and my own gym at home. And it feels good. It feels comfortable. I'm still getting good results. And, I want to continue doing this. This is my new habit. I don't want to go back to the gym anymore. And this doesn't mean that people are not going to ever go back to the gym. Doesn't mean I honestly think personal training is going to, be even, a bigger thing than the gym, aspect of a big gym. But, I think it's one of these things where you're already seeing people have created this new habit and they like it, and they're seeing results with it. So, I definitely think that that's a big shift, moving forward for a lot of companies in the health and fitness space to think about moving on, especially after COVID.
Yeah, you're breaking that construct, right? Of, I think one of the biggest excuses that any of us trainers have ever heard, right, is that, oh, like I didn't have time to go to the gym, or like I was going to go to the gym and then I forgot something at home. It's like, all these, at the end of the day, they're just excuses, right? Why you didn't work out, whatever. Now those are all gone, right? Because all you need is, like, everyone's got a body weight program out now. Everyone's got a single kettlebell or a single dumbbell or a band and body weight, or, some type of minimal use tool program where, those excuses are out the window now. You really don't have that opportunity to be able to tell someone, well, I just didn't have time to train, or I didn't have the equipment. There's so many resources out now that I think if we are to, not perpetuate the cycle, and we are to make better, progressions, and not make the same mistakes again based on the behavior change model that we all follow through precision nutrition, right? I think, that's a good way that we can kind of, or that's something that we can really lean on in order to continue to get people to train more. Is like, hey, you can do this from anywhere. Now you know it, right? Now you can train. I mean, my own clients have even been saying, like, oh, I would have never done FaceTime sessions with you before, but now I realize, like, they're really not that bad. Like, I've been telling you for 3 fucking years that they're not that bad. I mean, you've probably experienced the same type of conversations, I would assume.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And remember, I said, like, at first I was like, I ain't doing virtual. That's stupid. I'm not training anybody on a computer. I don't want to do it. I'll just wait it out and I'll see. And now it's like, once again, it's that expression, you know what? This ain't so bad. This ain't so bad. And then you learn when I'm doing my presentation, like, wow, I can share my screen and how that works. And then how to stop sharing my screen so then I could talk and everyone could see me. And then I could spotlight Josh, and then I bring it to spotlight back to me. And then you learn how to work this technology, and you learn how to work with this. And then it's like, yeah, it works, and, it's not so bad. And, as we've often said through this entire talk so far, is you have to make the best of the situation. And right now, the best of the situation is, doing stuff like we're talking about, the virtual world that we're living in. And on a rocket ship to virtual technology before all this anyway. Yeah. So just imagine all those companies and everyone in their basement trying to be the next, Amazon, and 10 years from now, and 5 years from now, 20 years from now, someone's going to be filthy, rich, huge conglomerate, and they're going to say it's because during the pandemic, this is what I created. And I believe that. Unfortunately, it's not going to be me because I'm not that smart. But I know somebody out there is creating something that's going to take us into the next atmosphere.
No, 100%. And I agree with everything you said. If you look back in history, through some of the biggest recessions in time, you hear some of the biggest companies later on come out and said, we built our billion-dollar industry through some of these moments, and we started during these recessions. So it's like you said, going back, are you going to sit and complain and wait, or are you going to do something about it, and take advantage of what you can learn and what you can get out of this with what you have and what you can continue to grow with. So I think for everybody out there, it's just plain and simple. Are you going to wait? Are you going to do something about it? And we all know that when you wait, later on, you're going to be like, holy shit, I should have taken advantage of this. I should have been doing this. I should have worked on my health. I should have spent more time with my family. I should have been working on my new business. I should have been doing this. And I didn't do any of that, So, I think it's just one of those things where it's just a lot of awareness, a lot of awareness going on, during times like this, awareness overall.
I kind of want to go back in time a little bit because, we have been talking about presenting and doing all of these Zoom conferences. You happen to be one of the most, exciting, entertaining, electric presenters, I've ever had the pleasure of learning from. I can truly say that. Where did it all begin for you? Where did you get your start in presenting? Where did the Giovanni Roselli that we see today, where did he come from, and how does that correlate into, the person we see on stage or in front of a whiteboard?
The entertainer.
Yeah. So I think you kind of already know the answer to this.
A little bit.
Before I got into fitness, I did some acting, and I did professional wrestling.
Still blew my mind seeing you on the Deuce. That was wild.
Yeah. I still do it to this day. Obviously not right now because there's not a lot of things shooting. But that gave me the experience of being in front of people. And the interesting, ironic part, and I don't know if I've ever said this to you guys before, is I used to be deathly afraid of speaking in front of anybody. I still remember vividly coming up with excuses in middle school, high school, and college to get out of public speaking. I remember faking a cough and bringing in cough drops in high school to be like, oh, I know I'm supposed to present on George Washington today, but that was bad acting. Right?
Yeah.
That was my first taste of bad acting. But having a passion to become a professional wrestler gave me an opportunity to be someone else. So I didn't have to be me. I got to pretend to be someone else. So then I wasn't the shy kid in middle school, high school, and college. I got to be the opposite, and I got to be like my alter ego. And then that gave me comfort in front of people. And that gave me the ability to walk out. Pro wrestling, you're walking out in front of thousands of people in your underwear. There's nothing more, revealing than that. So after that,
when you're looking swole like Gio,
Yeah, it can't be that bad.
It can't be that bad.
It was tough keeping that up. It still is.
Yeah.
But that's what really gave me the experience. And I took and I still take so many presentations and classes, so I know what it feels like. So I put myself in the participant's shoes, and I'm like, man, this is boring, or I'm just not
yeah, we've all been there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And man, I'm checking out, so I've been there. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to add a little more pizzazz and a little spice, or I'll get a little extra intense, and I'll make a noise. I'll try to do something to keep everyone engaged, because I also know too the power that a good presentation has and a good presenter has. And I'm sure you guys can attest, I can still remember every single great presentation and presenter that I've ever seen. And that leaves a mark on you. And that's what I've tried to do, with the opportunities that I've had. So long answer is that, yeah, I've had some experience being in front of people.
Pretty epic experiences.
Oh yeah.
And I tried to use that, right? Use that to my advantage. And I think that's another life lesson, right? So we try to use our past, and it could be a myriad of ways. It could be, don't do this.
Right.
that happened in my past, or this worked really well. How can I take this? How can I evolve this? Right. So I've gone from wrestling to fitness. So that doesn't mean that I have to stop being in front of people. And what I did was I just jumped down a rabbit hole, and I wanted to learn from the best presenters and educators in the world, that I became so entrenched in that world that eventually I became like their Robins to their I'm the Robin to their Batman. And then I was like kind of co-presenting, and I was doing stuff alongside. And then I was like, there's no way I can do this on my own. There's no, like, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Like, there's no way I can do this. And then after a while, you get enough reps in, you get enough experience in, and then you're like, you know what? I could freaking do this on my own. And then you get a shot, you get an opportunity, you learn from it. No one knows what you're supposed to say or what you left out anyway. So, it's all good. And then you just use that experience and build for the next one. And then the last thing I'll say is just putting myself out there and applying to things and saying, hey, can I do this for you? I would love to present this, or I would love, this webinar, or, hey, I see you're doing really great stuff. Here's my resume. Like I was never afraid to put myself out there, and I'm still not. And I think that's a big part of being a success. I'm sure both of you gentlemen can attest to that, is don't be
Absolutely.
afraid to fail.
Yeah,
don't
absolutely.
be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And, don't concentrate on the one person that said you suck. Concentrate on the 10 people that just said that was a really great presentation. And, ask that person, why do you think it sucked? Right. So then maybe you can use that, for the future. But just, you gotta keep pushing forward. And I always use the word, it always comes up, and I wasn't planning on using it, is perseverance. It's one of my favorite words ever. And I feel like if you have perseverance, then you have the ability to do literally anything in life, because you're going to get knocked down. You have the perseverance to get back up. You realize that you don't know something. You have the perseverance to keep figuring out until you learn it. So I use the word perseverance, and I try to be as perseverant, is that a word, as I can be throughout my life.
No, amazing, man. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I know a lot of people are going to be able to use that, your experience and use that as a lesson for themselves. It really stuck out to me when you said reps, and I think a lot of times people forget that, when we say, hey, practice, yeah, we're talking about practice. Yeah. Practice is what makes you better, and that's what's going to keep moving the needle for you. If you keep putting that practice, those reps, every single day, and doing that thing, like we talked about habits, you keep doing this for a period of time where you're going to get good at it. Next, it's a reaction, so, you clearly, are a testimony to that. And I think another thing too is who you put yourself around. You putting yourself around the right speakers, the best of the best, and then going out there and presenting with them just led you to become, Gio, who you are today. I'm curious, what was that moment that you knew you were shifting from wrestling into the fitness world? What was that moment that made that decision for you?
Great question. It was probably when I was asked if I'd be interested in becoming a tier 4 for Equinox, because tier 3, at that time there was no tier 3 plus. I was doing well. I was getting by a lot on personality and just kind of decent workouts. I was nothing special, but I grinded and I trained a lot of people. And
Goes a long way.
And I had a lot of passion. And then it was like I always looked at tier 4, like, cause tier 4 did my curriculum. As I went through tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And I was like, man, these tier 4s, they're amazing. They're unbelievable. Like, these guys are really the best of the best. And then I was asked if I would be interested in going through the curriculum and potentially becoming one. And I was like, man, am I on that level? Could I be on that level? Will I be on that level? And then, all the devil and the angel are on both shoulders saying, you're not good enough. You'll never be there. Or go ahead, do it. And so that was really a turning point for me, where it was, man, like they see this in me, see this in yourself, and let's go. Like, yeah, let's go. Let's go. Like, let's take the leap. Let's take the jump. And, let's see what happens. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm not going to get in, or, I'm not going to do well. And then you move on.
And then Gio just keeps rocking those.
It's funny
Gio keeps rocking the Speedos on the wrestling matches.
Yeah. With me and with all of us, the universe has put me in positions that has steered me, right? Yep. Because, I could have easily said, I'm going to go back to wrestling, or I'm going to try to go back to wrestling. Who knows if I wouldn't be able to go back to be a full-time wrestler. Maybe they wouldn't have accepted me. But, I kept taking the signs, so to speak, and I kept just going where the doors were opening. And the doors kept opening in fitness. And I'm like, why not keep going through these doors? And then just, continue to snowball from there.
What would you say to the people? Because I completely agree with you, right? I know both of us are two people who have, gone through some of the same circumstances you have, where, maybe our lives, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like, you would have talked to us, when you were educating us, neither of us would have said we'd be talking on a mic for a full-time job. I definitely wouldn't have. I would have been, you're crazy. I'm here to watch people pick things up and put them back down. That's what I love to do.
I could tell you half of my life, I'd probably tell you, I can't believe I did some of this shit. Knowing how you said, couldn't even speak in front of your class. I was one of those too. I would be scared as shit to speak in front of my class, let alone I hated creating courses in PowerPoint, yet I did a huge course and, put it all together. I would have never thought, and spot on.
So what do you say to those people out there who, maybe acknowledging or aware of the opportunities that they have, but are hesitating to take advantage of those? What do you say to those people?
I think I'm going to defer to having a mentor or mentors. I know that could be like the easy answer, but I think it's really true. Like, you can't do this on your own. You can't do anything on your own. You need people there to maybe slap you in the face and say, what the F you doing? Or you need people to take you by the hand and say, come with me. And, you need these different mentors. And, as I'm sure you guys can attest, we have different mentors at different stages of our lives and careers. So maybe the same mentors that we have now weren't back then. And maybe the same mentors we had 5 years ago aren't our mentors now. And maybe we're mentors now to some people that are behind us. I've always said it like this: where we all are individually in our lives, there are people in front of us and there are people behind us. So what we need to do is take the people behind us and say, come with me. I got some cool stuff to show you. And then the people that are in front of us say, hey man, can I shadow you? Can I watch you? Can I pick your brain? Can I hop on a phone call with you? Can we meet up for coffee? Can you just, tell me about this, or teach me about that? Or, can I help assist you with anything? And I feel like that's really the golden ticket, so to speak. Because otherwise you're just kind of figuring stuff out. And there's so much better ways to go about it. And so that's what I would say. And that goes back to putting yourself out there and networking and relationships. Yeah. And especially now is the best time to try to reach out to people who may not normally you've been able to contact, because maybe they have a little more time, or maybe they check their emails more because they're on the computer more. That's maybe those mentors that you thought were out of reach are now within reach, and maybe that's the time to do that. And maybe that's the time, and that's why I like working with the universities, because maybe that's the time to say, hey kids, I was where you were, and this is a tough time right now. I'm here to help. And there's some that take me up on it, and there's some that don't. And the ones that take me up on it, I've helped them all in different ways. So once again, it just all goes back to me, it goes back to mentor.
I love everything you brought up about that, because, it's one of those things that I mention all the time. Coaches need coaches, mentors need mentors. And, doesn't matter what profession you're in or what field you're in, it's important to always know that and set that ego aside and just be like, I'm going to be coachable. Even me being a coach, I'm going to be coachable, and allow yourself to be in that position to absorb and learn. And, whether you get it through a friend, through a colleague, or somebody you pay for, at the end of the day, when you can sit back and tell yourself, man, I allowed myself to be mentored, to be coached, it feels good, man. It feels good. And it also, too, it allows you to, enter a new space of understanding, because, many times I feel like, and we've all gone through it, there's those moments where you're like, man, no, I got this. I can do it. I don't need help. I can do this on my own. Who's that? Who's this? I've been doing it on my own for a bit right now. No, I'm good. And it's just one of those things where there's a moment in our life where you get that moment where you're like, oh shit, I don't know everything. I don't know. I need help. And I think it's when you hit those moments too, for certain people, they get scared to ask. They get scared to ask for help. And I tell people all the time, like, you got to ask. You got to just ask, and don't be scared to ask, because you never know. The worst thing they're going to say is no. So
heard that a lot.
Yep. So, I always say, just ask. And if you need the help, just go get it.
And I think it's really hard to piggyback off that point. I think it's really hard for some people to ask the stupid question, right? And I've become more comfortable throughout the years of raising my hand and say, I got a stupid question. And then what does the presenter say? It's not a stupid question, because there's a good chance 10 other people have a question that you have, but they didn't have the guts to raise their hand and ask the same question, right? Mm-hmm. So it's taking the armor off and asking the stupid questions and saying, I don't know. And that's one of the things that I present when I talk to the FAU students. Like, it's okay not to know something.
Go Owls.
We all don't know a lot of stuff, but go Owls.
or you just tell them, okay, we got not one, we got 10 stupid questions out there. Not just kidding.
But what's worse is if you keep that question inside you and you either pretend that you know it or you ignore it, and then you'll never know it. And then that could be what's holding you back. So I totally agree with you.
So you beat me to the punch there. That was going to be my next question. I know that you have been teaching at my graduate school alma mater. I said it once, say it again, go Owls.
Thank God he didn't bring a Syracuse. Syracuse always gets brought up.
Yeah, he hates it. He hates it. Us New Yorkers, we can't not talk about the things that we love about New York, though. It's just,
every podcast, it never fails.
Yeah, he hates it. Someone always has a Syracuse connect with me. We brought up in this, but you brought up in this podcast, so it's your fault.
I shot myself in the foot.
Yeah. Anyway, how has that experience been for you teaching at FAU? Obviously I'm well versed in the program. I really love it there. I had a great time with a lot of the professors there and a lot of the students who I was in class with. So how has that experience been for you, being on the other side of that, right, where you're now educating students in a very formal setting, moving forward? What is that going to look like for you and for the university? Have they told you anything about, their reopening plans?
Well, I just did about a month ago, I did the presentation for the Intro to Exercise Science class via online. So let me jump ahead and then I'll jump back. So, my experience at FAU once again made me really open my mind to what other opportunities are out there, right? So why do I have to stop at FAU? So then all of a sudden, I keep getting these emails from my alma mater, from my college, Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut. And then I'm like, why don't I just tell them what I can do for them? Why don't I just say, this is what I'm doing at another college, another university. And then before I know it, now I'm doing stuff for my college, in Fairfield.
As long as it's not Syracuse.
So,
well, now you got me. Now you got me. You got me thinking.
Yeah. So all you got to do is reach out to who at Syracuse. It's just taking, once again, put yourself out there. You take the leap. You take the step. You have a nice organized structure of, hey, here's some bullet points of who I am, what I do, what I can do. Interested in having a conversation with you, and just see where it goes. So that's what kind of got me to where I am now. The interesting story about how I even got into FAU was that a former guest, Kavan Daly, was talking to the classes there, promoting Equinox at the time. And one of the professors bought a bunch of Vipers and he didn't know what to do with them. So he wanted to do a class / course. So then who did Kavan think of? Kavan thought of, luckily, he thought of me because I'm local.
You're more than local. You're the master of the Viper, my friend.
Yes.
So that's very kind of you to say. Once again, the door was open, and then I'm like, whoa, there's a lot behind this door. I could do a lot behind this door. Let's see where this goes. And then from there, it was not only, okay, yeah, you can do a Viper course for us, now ViPR PRO course for us, but can you talk to the intro class? Can you talk to this class? And that, I can't even remember all the classes that I've spoken at over the last couple of years. So that, once again, it's, what's that expression? When hard work meets luck, and that provides, an opportunity for yourself. So that's where I really started to say, I really like, doing this stuff with the students, because they are so vulnerable they're going to go out in the real world. And it's not an easy world to go out of, especially right now. What colleges and universities will look like moving forward, man, your guess is as good as mine. I'm just like we were talking offline, I'm glad that my daughter is only 3 years old and she thinks everything's okay in the world, and we don't have to worry about school and graduation and jobs and college yet. And I really feel for everybody out there in that age bracket and those parents of those kids in that age bracket that has to do that, which is why I'm trying to be the best mentor possible. And, one of the best things about having experience is when you can pay it forward, right? Yeah. And not just keep it for yourself. So now I'm in a position where I want to pay it forward. I like to pay it forward. So that's been very gratifying. And then once I realized, like, wow, some of these kids, I'm not going to say all of them, right? Some of these kids are really listening to me. And some of these kids are really getting me. And some of these kids are really being affected positively with my words and, with my courses. I would like to do, more of this. And now, virtually, who knows, maybe this has opened up a place for me, and maybe for you, Josh, too, where now, why can't we talk at any university if it's virtual? Yeah. So who knows where this will go?
Yeah, true.
I have to say, we have definitely talked of a lot of valuable stuff today. some really good deep stuff.
Yeah. We almost hit a full hour, man. Before we wrap things up, I want to say one more time, thank you again.
Yeah,
not only for coming on the podcast, but I know I speak for Anthony as well. Like, for all the things that you've done for us both personally in our careers, and all of the, extra time that you've put in, especially with myself. We've had, countless hours of conversations that you took out of your free time, and that really made a huge impact on me and in my career, and something that I hold very close to myself to this day. So I want to say thank you for that. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you? I know you're not huge on social media, but where they can find you on social media, or where they can find out about your upcoming workshops or anything that you got going on.
Gio's up there, come on. Gio's on
well,
social
he's not
media.
he's go ahead,
Father
man.
first.
Father always first.
Hey, that's not a bad way to look at things, man.
And then first off, thank you for those words. And it's words like that makes everything worth it, right? Like when someone says that, just like I've said the same thing to someone else that you said to me, right? And someone has said the same thing to you that you said to me, right? So that's what keeps, us alive, and that's what keeps us encouraged and what keeps us going. And like I said in the beginning, it's so great to see the two of you doing so well in so many aspects of fitness. And like I could say, I remember I'd be like, man, I taught them like, years ago. And now they're like, well, now they're blown up. Now they're bigger than I ever could have imagined. So now they've surpassed me. So, kudos to you guys.
Thank you, man.
We appreciate you.
And it's easy to find me. Just my name is everything on social media. My website.
Just Google him.
So, so Giovanni Roselli is Instagram, GiovanniRoselli.com, Giovanni Roselli on Twitter. So I tried to keep it pretty easy for everybody. When I'm not being a dad, and when I'm not trying to get better in my career, and I have time to post something or, put up something, then I'll do that. But I hope to get to, 10% of the level that you legends are at in the social media.
Well, it's a two-way street there, man. I hope we can get to, where you're at in terms of your education and your ability to, present all of that information. So
that's where we all learn from each other.
You got anything for him, Mendez?
So, I always have a few questions at the end. So I actually got 3. First one, what were the 3 top wrestlers that you faced that you're like, oh man?
I got to think back to, the Big Show.
Epic.
Damn.
I mean, legit 7 foot, 500 pounds.
Just a monster.
On live episodes of Monday Night Raw, looking back, like, no matter who it was, it doesn't have to be the Big Show, is I could have easily gotten killed. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. Especially with a 7 foot, 500 pound man, all he has to do is maybe slip his hand and then I drop, whatever it is. I look back now and I'm like, holy cow. Like, I'm amazed that I'm still in the condition that I'm in and the piece, the piece that I'm in. So Big Show, definitely stands out. Who else, stands out? I work with Kane, who's another
awesome.
Big,
another throwback,
big, and now he's like the mayor of Tennessee or something.
That's
right?
Wow.
Too,
that's right. Yeah. He's right. Yeah. That's right.
That's wild.
My dad told me that not too long ago.
Yeah. And, trying to think who else, I worked a lot of matches with Jerry the King Lawler.
Awesome.
Okay. That's dope.
Awesome.
I mean, from a Legends of Wrestling standpoint, like, he's a legend. Like, he may not get the credit he deserves or the status that he deserves, but I mean, he, at one point in time, he was one of the best wrestlers in the world, and he still wrestles like in his, he's been wrestling in his 50s and his 60s.
That's wild.
And the cool thing too is, like, as weird as this sounds, like, he gave me a pile driver, right? And it's like is it cool to get dropped on your head? Like, no, but like to take a pile driver from Jerry the King Lawler, to take a choke slam from Kane, right? To take a press from Big Show. It's like, yeah, it like hurts, but in a way it's like
but
cool.
It feels
like,
good. Yeah.
Like,
It's like, yo, that was me.
Yeah, like I saw this stuff as a kid, and now I'm like, and now the crowd, wow, when it happens. So, it was pretty cool. And I've had the fortune to work with a lot of guys that I've seen on TV.
No, that's amazing. So. Dude, I appreciate you sharing that, man. That's
epic.
Wild experience. Next question. What was, it could be in wrestling, health and fitness, what was the wildest thing you've seen in your career? Wildest, craziest thing you've seen in your career?
Wildest thing I've seen in my career?
Other than his beard and long flowing hair.
And this Cuban sandwich shirt that Josh is wearing.
Representing Miami well.
Man. So I hate to be too serious, but I think some of the wildest stuff that I've seen is, and I'll go to wrestling, is like unfortunate passings of a lot of young or fairly young wrestlers and individuals. And that could have been from drug overdoses and suicides and, unfortunate, prescription medications that they couldn't get off of. So, I come from a world, and I'm a person that I'm so out of that. Like I don't even know what that world is. I don't even know how that feels like. And, all these people around me are, killing themselves or dying young. And it's probably not the answer that you thought, what was the wildest thing I've ever seen. But that, to me personally, coming from being the exact opposite. I've never even smoked a cigarette in my life. I've never been high in my life. I've never tried marijuana. Like I'm as clean as they come.
Stay away from alcohol. The devil's lettuce.
Yeah. I've drank alcohol in the past, but that's as much as I've done.
I don't even think I've ever seen you eat candy.
Right.
I don't think
yeah. So, that to me, that was wild, knowing that like I'm on the road and like I was just wrestling with this person and now he's no longer with us.
Crazy.
Like that was,
life's short.
And now they're doing documentaries on all of these wrestlers that I grew up watching.
Yeah.
So
I think we can all agree that it's deeply a different type of crazy. So I appreciate you sharing that, especially for everybody. Hit them on another level. Last question. In one sentence, what's the biggest piece of advice you can leave off to everybody listening today?
Man, you got some good questions, man.
We've been practicing.
Yeah.
Repetition.
I got one sentence. Here's something that I've learned. I'm going to think of something better later, but at spur of the moment, this is my answer. Don't get too high on the highs and don't get too lows on the lows, because I've experienced things in my life that I wish I would have soaked in the moment more. And then I've been down in the dumps, as we all have, and knowing that it's not going to last forever. Like life goes like this. Like those low points in our lives, they won't last. Just like those really magical, awesome moments in our lives won't last either. So in my personal experience, once again, is, you can't get too caught up in either or, and just know that things won't last forever, and that could be good or bad. And change is always gonna be a part of it. And just to embrace it. And, I always say, just got to keep on keeping on and keep on persevering. So, that's how I'll look at things.
Well, thanks for coming on again, Gio. We really appreciate it. Next time we'll definitely do it in person. And hopefully everything will kind of settle down a little bit so we can, get a little workout in after, grab some lunch, do all that stuff.
And then you can choke slam Josh on the table.
I mean, fuck it. I would take that. That'd be, I'd put that on my highlight reel for sure. That'd be epic. I mean, I am from close to Buffalo, so getting slammed through tables is in our DNA, you know. So thanks again, Gio.
Much love, Gio.
Yeah, we really
you,
appreciate
man.
it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.